Just let me know when. Oh, Hare Krishna. So, thank you everybody for joining us online. We will begin the discussion, the lecture title of the lessons from Lord Rama on our crisis. So we'll be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, text number 50. Being pleased by the full surrender and submission of Lord Bharat, Lord Ramachandra then accepted the throne of the state. He cared for the citizens exactly like a father, and the citizens, being fully engaged in their occupational duties of Varna and Ashram, accepted him as their father.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jita Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sahagana Raghunatam Tang Tvang Sajivam Sadvaitam Salvadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the relationship between the leadership or the government and the citizens is described here. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yad yad acharati shestas tattadeveta rojanaha sayat pramanam kurute lokas taranvartate. Whatever action is performed by a great man, common men follow in his footsteps. And whatever standards he sets, all the world pursues. If the leaders of society or of any group, if they act in an exemplary way, then the people will follow. Krishna is making that point. That's the nature, is that we follow the leaders. And if the leaders are acting according to Dharma, according to the recommended process, then people will naturally follow. But of course, we don't have that situation now. And we haven't had that situation for a long time. So consequently, the citizens they have no proper guidance. They have no proper leadership, so they don't know what to do. Andha yatandha rupa niyamana tepi shatantriyam uridam nibadha. The blind are leading the blind, and of course the result is unpleasant. So, we're not surprised because Srimad Bhagavatam has explained everything, Bhagavad Gita has explained everything, Krishna, Shukadev Goswami, Vyasadeva. It's all been explained by the acharyas, what the result will be, and we know how the system works. There is a law of karma. Everyone is responsible for their own activities. And if they follow the religion, not religion in a modern sense, a kind of faith, but if they follow the duties and responsibilities given to them by Krishna, dharmam tu sakshat bhagavana praniham, then everything is auspicious. They can live happily in this world and make progress towards the spiritual world. That's actually what is supposed to be happening. But instead, everyone is trying to acquire immediate sense gratification without paying any attention to Krishna's instructions. So we have problems. The responsibility is the leaders, but also the citizens. They're responsible to act properly too, because it doesn't do any good to say the leaders are not doing their duties properly, therefore I'm following and everything's okay. Everybody is individually responsible for themselves. So if the leaders are not following, then we have to find someone who knows, someone who has eyes, can see. And Krishna doesn't forsake anyone. He's available, he's in the heart of every living being. He's given Bhagavad Gita, he's given his instruction. He comes personally, he sends his representatives, just like Lord Jesus Christ, sent by Krishna to teach. And those who follow and take his advice seriously, they're saved from so many problems. So there are many great personalities in the history who have taught God consciousness, and one should seek those out. Practically everywhere in the world there's some form of religion with religious scriptures, and if the people follow that, they'll be benefited. Unfortunately, sometimes the teachings are misinterpreted or not understood properly. But in the case of Srila Prabhupada, all that misfortune is wiped out, because we have a perfectly qualified spiritual master, comes in the line of disciplic succession, and he's coming right in the midst of the turmoil, especially for us who are living now in the 21st century, we have a great opportunity because Srila Prabhupada traveled all over the world. And he basically showed that Krishna consciousness is for everyone. It's not just for Indians. And not only is it for everyone, but it includes anything that's good is included in the Krishna consciousness teaching. And anything that's not good is rejected. So whatever is good in science, they're looking for the absolute truth. They're trying to find out the origin, trying to find out the smallest particle, trying to find out how the universe is working. That's good. Those inquiries are good. That's in Krishna consciousness. Concept of religion, that God is great, He's the Father, that we should love Him and chant, praise the name of the Lord. This is good. That's there in Krishna consciousness. That we should follow the natural laws and not pollute the earth and exploit nature for our own selfishness. That's good. That's part of Krishna consciousness. So, in one easy operation, one can solve all the problems in one's life. He simply has to change the beneficiary. Instead of trying to please the senses and please one's mind and senses, he has to try to please Krishna. And then the problems are solved for that individual. Yudhishthira Maharaj said, when it rains, you can't stop the rain, but if you have an umbrella, you can keep dry. So Kali Yuga, you can't stop Kali Yuga. But if you have the umbrella of Krishna consciousness, you can keep dry, you can keep safe. And because the devotees have purified vision and hearts, they're compassionate towards others, they're not content to just be themselves relieved from suffering, but they want to help others. Therefore, they form an international society and they make a group, an international group for practicing Krishna consciousness. And that way it makes it easier. You can read, yes?
Hare Krishna. So I remember reading recently that in Kali Yuga the way to stop the influence of Kali Yuga or hinder it is by chanting of the holy name. So I'm just wondering how we can see this, because Kali Yuga is so degraded, especially nowadays, and there's so many corruption all over the world, leaders and things. So how do we have faith in this, this point?
Well, we can see that it works for us individually. And we can see that within the organization, Krishna Consciousness Movement, there's nice peace, cooperation. So many nice things are happening. So many thousands of people whose lives have been completely changed for the better. Some people say, I've met so many devotees, they say, I probably would have been dead. The path I was going on, I would probably have been dead had it not been for Krishna consciousness. So many problems have been solved, so it's working. And it will continue to work, day by day. Even if for some time there's some impediment, apparent impediment, just like Prahlad Maharaj faced apparent impediments. His father wouldn't allow him to practice Krishna consciousness. His teachers wouldn't allow him to teach Krishna consciousness. They tried to punish him in so many ways. But he just went on with his business. And he was successful because Krishna appreciates that. So we don't judge by material means what is success. Like, for example, Prabhupada, before he came to America, he tried to start his movement in India in one city, Jhansi. He formed a league of devotees with the same idea too. But it didn't work out. There was some problem with the property that they had. It was someone else wanted it, and there was some politics. So Prabhupada put it aside. But he didn't become discouraged, or he didn't give up his work, even though it seemed as though this was a setback. Or when Prabhupada, he translated and wrote commentary for the entire Bhagavad Gita, over 1,000 pages. It got stolen. That original manuscript got stolen. So Prabhupada, when he came to America, he didn't have the Gita. But he wrote it again. That's determination. And he came at the age of 70 to America with no funding and no support. No men even with him to assist him. And he was so enthusiastic against all odds. Health, elderly age, poverty, foreign country. So that's part of Krishna consciousness. That there may be apparent obstacles in the path, but the devotee just continues on, he keeps trying. And that's his success. Whether or not it's appreciated by others or whether or not it appears to be successful is not the consideration. You can read the next text.
Lord Ramachandra became king during Treta Yuga, but because of his good government, the age was like Satya Yuga. Everyone was religious and completely happy.
Ramraj, everybody's looking for that type of a situation But as it said, they want the kingdom of God without God. It doesn't work that way. If you want the kingdom of God, then you have to have God too. You want to have peace, prosperity, nice weather, no diseases, no wars. I remember my generation, the peace and love generation, the flower generation. They wanted love, what they thought was love. And intoxication and love and no war. They said, make love, not war. Yeah, but make love to whom? They didn't know who to make love to. They were making love on the level of the body. What kind of love is that? The love of two bodies. They weren't on the soul platform. Spiritual love means love between the soul and Krishna, the individual soul. Because Krishna is the supreme lovable object. If one loves Krishna, then Krishna is worth loving. And he can reciprocate the love properly. For example, what's the use in loving someone who, in a few years, first of all, someone who's covered in a body and is in illusion, and within a short time he'll be out of that body in another body in illusion. What's the use in loving that? And I'm in illusion, and I'm in a body, and I'll be out of this body in a short time in another body in illusion. So I don't even know what love is. So when we talk about love, we have to know who we are. It all begins with transcendental knowledge of the soul and the Supreme Soul. You had a question? Here.
Noah Logan asked, as we continue to understand the aspects of great rulers in past ages as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, how are we to properly take part in the election process? Do we have any duty to take part in politics or effect change via political means?
Yeah, sometimes Prabhupada would say, there's no use complaining about the leadership because the people are choosing the leaders. You choose them, then you can't complain. You chose them. But he himself didn't vote, and he didn't encourage the devotees to vote unless someone was a qualified person to be a leader. Then we can vote. But voting for a person who doesn't know how to lead, there's no value. So that type of mundane politics is not recommended. But in Satya Yuga, the process was meditation. The Lord appeared to those who properly meditated. In the Treta Yuga, the process was sacrifices. Lord Ramachandra performed 10,000 sacrifices when he was the leader. And the Lord would appear in such sacrifices. Personally, he would come riding on Garuda right down. They'd be offering ghee into the fire, the Brahmanas would be chanting the mantras, and they'd be throwing ghee and grains, and the Lord would come down on Garuda and give them benedictions. And in Dwapara Yuga, the process is worshipping the form of the Lord. So Krishna personally came, the supreme deity. He appeared. And in Kali Yuga, he appears through the chanting. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nityamukto Binadvam Nami Namino. Krishna and his name are the same. So by chanting, Lord Chaitanya is the incarnation for this age, and he's given us the chanting. Krishna is there in his holy name, and he'll take up the leadership. So that's why, that's our platform. Our platform is chanting. Of course, if we get the opportunity to have some leadership on some level, then we should try to establish all the educational systems, training for the Varnashram, train up Brahmanas, train up Vaishnavas. But Varnashram is difficult to put in place right now because of the circumstances. So the process of Sanatana Dharma, chanting of the holy names, devotional service, is very effective, and we can see it's working. And within our society, we're gradually developing the infrastructure of Varnashram Dharma as a safety net or a development for Krishna consciousness. And as long as we do that, go on chanting, go on distributing transcendental knowledge, training up people, then Krishna will be pleased. And there will be. One time they asked Srila Prabhupada, you should run for president. And Prabhupada remarked, better you become the president, I'll give you guidance. So that's the duty of the Brahmanas. We're taking the role, we meaning the members of the Krishna Consciousness movement for the most part, are taking the role as Brahmanas, as the head of society to give direction, to give knowledge, and to give spiritual guidance. And we can give guidance. Prabhupada took it seriously when leaders were willing to meet with him, leaders of different nations. He would go and he would give them advice how they could rule. But the main advice is, because this age is chanting, the process, Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalam, Kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatyanyata. So the main process is chanting the names of the Lord. That will bring about all success. Political success, material prosperity, spiritual attainment, everything will be accomplished by that. And we're seeing that on a small scale. Krishna Consciousness movement People's lives are improving. And you can see what Krishna Consciousness stands for. Although it wasn't understood in the beginning, but now in the last 50 years, there's one article, it was written a few years ago. And the man was saying, actually, if we see many of us, or practically all of us, are practically Hare Krishnas. He was speaking about, because who doesn't know about yoga? Who's not? People are interested in vegetarianism. People are chanting and talking about the soul, and so it's having its effect. So we just have to continue on like that. And it's not actually allowed in some countries that a religious organization like ours engage directly in politics. It's against the law. So, but we can preach the principles of Krishna consciousness, and then we'll have its effect. You have any other?
Sonali Swift asks, what is a good way to inspire others to appreciate and possibly take up this process of bhakti?
Well, if we take it up enthusiastically and we invite them, explain to them how nice it is, that's the best way. You take it up yourself, and all the things that you like about it, you try to share those things with others. You like prasadam, so share prasadam. You like chanting, share chanting. You like the philosophy, try to explain the philosophy to them. You like the association of devotees, try to invite them to come and get association of devotees. You like to see the deities, invite them. Answer their questions. Prabhupada wrote me the letter once about preaching in colleges. He said, chant and dance, distribute profuse prasadam, sumptuous prasadam, answer all their questions nicely, and invite them to come forward for the highest perfection of life. It'll be successful. If we're convinced, then we may be able to convince others. And the preachers go where the preaching's good. So, if some people are not interested, that's okay. There are other people who will be interested. And so we're just like a businessman, he's selling some products. He goes where there's interest. He's canvassing different places until he finds some group that's interested or people. So that's what we're doing. But because Krishna consciousness is inherently present in everyone, everyone is actually looking for Krishna. So if the devotee tries to present it in such a way, Krishna is all attractive. So somehow or other, either culturally or artistically or musically or through prasadam or simple living, natural living. There's so many different approaches. We've got so many ways to present Krishna. So, it's not difficult. Yes?
So many devotees have underwent so many challenges and austerities to share Krishna consciousness with the world. How can we remain compassionate for everybody else, although we might face so many challenges and shortcomings?
Well, we're not, the devotees who undergo austerities, they're not doing it for a result. They're doing it to please the spiritual master and please Krishna. They're satisfied with that. They don't have to have so-called success. It doesn't matter. The fact that they're engaged in the service, that's their perfection. So that austerity that they perform for that purpose, as long as it's being done not for some material gain or some profit, adoration, or distinction, then they'll be enthusiastic. Their enthusiasm will go on increasing. Their determination will go on increasing. Because they're doing it for the right reasons. They're performing austerities. Sometimes people perform austerities with the goal in mind of gaining material power to overlord others, to exploit, to become powerful and famous and enjoy the senses. That type of austerity is not desirable. But austerity, like the 6 Goswamis, that type of austerity for the service of Krishna is desirable, and it automatically becomes more inspiring. They become more determined and enthusiastic. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yukta ahara viharasya, yukta chesta sakarmasu, yukta svapnava bodhasya, yogo bhavati dukkha. One should regulate his eating, sleeping, and sense gratification. If he sleeps too much or sleeps too little, he cannot practice yoga. If he eats too much or eats too little, he cannot practice yoga. If he has too much sense gratification or tries to renounce all sense gratification, he cannot practice yoga. So it has to be moderate, kept the balance. Then he can go on increasing it'll naturally increase, because as he gets a higher taste, he'll lose the taste for sense gratification. It's a natural thing. It's not dependent upon some material circumstance.
Savitri Raj asked, Hare Krishna, This is Satyavati. Thank you, Guru Maharaj, for enlightening us. Earlier you mentioned they can live happily in this world and make spiritual progress. Can you please tell us what is happiness in this material world? Is this happiness real or an illusion? Thank you.
Well, happiness spiritually and materially. Materially means healthy and free from anxiety and without fear and peace of mind and without want, without poverty. Prabhupada always said that if you practice Krishna consciousness, your necessities of life will be supplied. Because it's living a natural life, naturally one is saved from so many problems, just like drugs. One takes drugs, but then there's so many problems with drugs. It is detrimental for the brain and the body and the mind. Or illicit connections. It's not healthy. It's not good for the mind. It causes so many distresses. It's not good socially. It's not good karmically. So the devotees are saved from so many problems. Just even material problems. They don't have to worry about diseases and things like that others are plagued with. So that's on the material side. Spiritual side, that's the real happiness. Knowing that I'm not this body and that I'm going back to Godhead. It's like if you have your ticket for a particular destination and you're at the airport. You have your ticket, you have your seat, you have your boarding pass. You're happy. It's practically as good as being there. The happiness has already begun, isn't it? It's not that you have to wait to arrive there. You're happy making the arrangements, packing, you're happy, thinking how nice it's going to be there, associating with all my friends in that nice place. So, and that's just on the material level. Imagine spiritually, Krishna is absolute, and he's even, to make things better, he's even come and made himself available here. And he's set up different embassies of his spiritual abode. These temples are embassies. They're the same as the spiritual world. Just like if you're in some foreign country and things are really difficult for you, if you can go into if there's an American embassy there, you feel safe. So we have these embassies, we can feel safe, and our path back to home, back to Godhead is set. As long as we stay on the path, as long as we keep our determination to continue with this process, and everything's auspicious.
Bhakta Tahir says, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my obeisances and pranams and my dandavat at your feet. Thank you for enlightening us. How should we accept one's fate?
Well, man is the architect of his own destiny. So we have to accept what's happening to me now is due to what I did before. For example, if someone took a lot of drugs, he may have some disturbances in the mind. He has to accept that this is... Sometimes Prabhupada would say, he would point out the detrimental effects of all the things that devotees did, and he said so much of the brain is already lost. They asked, can it be replaced? He said, no. What's gone is gone. But whatever we've got left we can use in Krishna's service. And it doesn't, ultimately the material faculties are not required even. For example, Daksha, you know the story of the Daksha sacrifice. It's a long story, but he made some offense to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva's followers came, and there was a fight, and he lost his head. But it was decided to put a goat's head on Daksha's body, and it worked. He lived with a goat's head. Now, goats don't have very good intelligence, but he had the intelligence of Daksha, not the goat. So that means intelligence, real intelligence, is a function of the soul, not the body. Because the soul has intelligence, spiritual intelligence. So as long as we're engaged in Krishna consciousness, then our fate can be changed also. We were destined to suffer like anything. Who knows where we're going? But by practicing Krishna consciousness, Krishna says, Ahang tvang sarva papebhyo mokshayishami ma shucha. I'll free you from all sinful reactions if you surrender to me. So your fate will be changed if you engage in Krishna consciousness. Then your future is bright. Even if it was negative before, now it's bright.
Should I read another one? O Maharaj Parikshit, best of the Bharat dynasty, during the reign of Lord Ramachandra, the forests, the rivers, the hills and mountains, the states, the 7 islands, and the 7 seas were all favorable in supplying the necessities of life for all living beings.
That's an example. When Krishna consciousness is performed, then even material things become auspicious. The demigods are pleased, and they give rains, and the earth is satisfied. She produces nutritious foods and jewels and wealth. And when there's a lack of Krishna consciousness, then we have shortages So, if we go on practicing Krishna consciousness, the more it expands, the more there'll be prosperity in all different ways. Like the deserts are increasing. Every year the deserts get bigger. And the difficulties, we're creating so many problems because we're forgetting Krishna. If we remember Krishna and act according to his instructions, then there'll be, for example, Prabhupada said, he traveled all over the world so many times and he said there's so much vacant land not being cultivated. If you cultivate the land with anad bhavati bhutani parjanyadana sambhava, if you cultivate the land, grow grains, perform sacrifice, chanting, from rains, from the sacrifice, then there'll be rain. From the rain, there's grains. Everything will be auspicious. Krishna consciousness solves all the problems spiritually and materially. That's why it's the best process for all aspects. And it should actually be incorporated in every facet of life. It's not that it should be separated from schools. It's not that it should be separated from government. It should be incorporated in all aspects. How can you say that God has nothing to do with the government? That's not what the founders of this country said. They said, one nation under God. In God we trust. This nation was formed with the idea that we're going to follow God. Now we're saying, no, God's not required. We're not sure there's God. There's no God. Just void. So we have to expect, because we're being so disobedient and godless, we have to expect problems. But the devotees, if they go on with their chanting and their devotional practices, then they'll be protected. Their position will be very nice.
Christel Dias asks, can you discuss the 7 laws as they appear in daily life?
7 laws?
Bhakta Miguel knows what this is.
I think this person may be referring to some book written by a certain person, but I'm not sure if it's a Krishna conscious laws. Some laws of success.
Oh. Well, the main law that the devotees follow is always remember Krishna and never forget him. Smartavya satatam Vishnu vismartavyo najatuchit. Those are the two most important things. Everything should be based around that. How to remember Krishna and never forget Him. One's life should be molded in such a way that he cannot but remember Krishna. We see society now is more or less based on the opposite. How to forget God is the number one principle. That's how to completely eradicate God from our civilization. So how can we expect success, peaceful? Yes? Hot cow. Microphone. KB?
So it said when Lord Chaitanya came, it ushered in a golden age in the midst of the age of Kali, which was somewhere around 500 years ago, but now it seems like things are getting worse before they're getting better. I was just wondering if you could speak a little on that.
Who said worse? Prabhupada came with one pair of kartals 50 years ago. Now there's 50,000 pairs of kartals, and there's temples all over the world. I think it's growing like anything. It's getting better. Kali Yuga may be continuing on, but this is the eddy. It's like there's a river going down, rushing down, but the eddy is the stream that goes back up, and so that eddy is the Sankirtan movement. And it will go on increasing for another 9,500 years. That's the golden age. And we're participating in it now. It's increasing. And it will go on increasing. Yes?
In the first days of the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna's soldiers were getting slaughtered like anything. But the end result is Krishna and Arjuna were victorious. So in this Kali Yuga, sometimes it appears we're not making much progress, but we should know that Lord Chaitanya's mission, it's destined to be victorious.
Yes. Prativati achiyata nagradigram sarvacha pochoy hoibi moranam. Lord Chaitanya predicted that this chanting will spread to every town and village in the world. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.